Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Master That English, where we understand, analyze, and interpret the important texts and concepts that may be part of your English curriculum. Our topic for today will be the analysis of a play written by the American dramatist Tennessee Williams, and the name of the play is A Streetcar Named Desire. So get your pens and notepads ready because here we go. Who is Tennessee Williams? Tennessee Williams, born in 1911 as Thomas Lanier Williams, had a difficult personal life. His father was strict and harsh, while his mother was overprotective, creating tension at home. His sister Rose's mental illness and lobotomy affected him deeply. Williams himself struggled with anxiety, depression, and loneliness, and also felt isolated due to personal and relationship challenges. These painful experiences strongly influenced his writing and are reflected in many of his works. Before we dive into his play, let us try to understand what is plastic theater. Plastic theater is a dramatic technique developed by Tennessee Williams in which stage elements like light, music, sound, and setting are used symbolically to express a character's inner emotions and mental state, not just to show realistic action. The change in lighting helps to reflect the mood or truth, like dim light reflects illusion, and harsh light indicates reality. Likewise, recurring tunes show emotions or trauma. Symbolic setting and props like objects and surroundings represent deep meanings as expression of inner mind can be shown by the stage props. Let us try to understand the next aspect, which is what changes did he bring in the American theater? Tennessee Williams brought a major transformation in American theater by shifting it from the external action and focusing on inner life and psychology. Before Williams, American writers like Eugene O'Neill and Arthur Miller plays often emphasized plot and social issues. He introduced complex inner worlds of characters, making theater more introspective and emotionally intense. Williams did not stick to plain realism, but introduced poetic realism. By mixing real life situation with poetic language, symbolism, and music. He introduced expressionistic techniques like lightning effects, background music, and screen projections to show emotions. These non realistic stage techniques helped represent a character's mental state rather than just physical reality. William was able to break convention and make theatre more honest and daring by addressing bold themes and social taboos previously avoided, like sexual desire, mental illness, loneliness, alienation, and the decline of the Old South. He created some of the most powerful and tragic female roles in drama. Complex female characters like Blanche DuBois and Amanda Wingfield are emotionally rich and psychologically layered. Williams also brought about a shift from action to character driven drama. Instead of focusing on big events, focus was on slow unfolding of psychological tension. This influenced modern drama to become more character centered. Let us now try to understand what were his major achievements. Tennessee Williams was one of the most successful American playwrights. He won the Pulitzer Prize for drama twice, for A Streetcar Named Desire and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. His plays The Glass Menagerie brought him early fame. Many of his works were turned into successful films and stage productions, and he received several important awards. Tennessee Williams, one of the greatest American playwrights of the 20th century, is famous for writing emotional, intense plays that explore human desires, emotions, loneliness, and psychological struggles, broken dreams, and inner conflicts, making him a key figure in modern drama. Some of his most important plays include A Streetcar Named Desire, The Glass Menagerie, and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. These works gave him international fame. The next question is, why did Tennessee Williams chose the title like A Streetcar Named Desire? Because most of his plays have these very interesting lines and titles. What's the secret behind them? For this play, Tennessee Williams chose the title A Streetcar Named Desire because it clearly shows both the real journey and the deeper meaning of the play. It refers to the actual streetcar named Desire in New Orleans that Blanche DuBois takes, passing from Desire to cemeteries and then to the Elysian fields. This journey is symbolic. It shows how strong desires can lead a person towards suffering and destruction. In the play, all the characters are driven by their desires, which they cannot control. Like a streetcar that moves on fixed tracks, their lives also move in a fixed direction. So the title simply shows that desire is a powerful force that leads to downfall and reflects the main themes of the play. Our next question is, how does Tennessee represent social Darwinism in his work A Streetcar Named Desire? William represents social Darwinism in A Streetcar Named Desire through the brutal clash of characters, class, and values, where the strong dominate and the weak collapse in the harsh post-war world. The clash takes place between the Old South and the working class. The Old South refers to the declining aristocracy. Historically, these families owned vast land and often depended on enslaved laborers. Their source of wealth were the large cotton and tobacco plantations that allowed them to live in comfort and luxury. Their social life was governed by strict codes of etiquette like politeness, charm, and refined speech. They were proud of their past glory, lineage, traditions, and ancestry, and had an illusion of superiority. These Old South in the southern United States were gradually replaced by what we call New America. Due to a mix of economic, social, and historical changes from the mid 19th to the early 20th century. The American Civil War destroyed the plantation economy of the Old South. The old feudal like system collapsed as wealthy aristocratic families lost land, power, and social dominance. When slavery was abolished after the war, the rigid class structure of the Old South broke down. There was an economic shift from agriculture to industry, with the rise of factories, railroads, and trade. Now, wealth was based on money and work, not land and heritage. As a consequence, in the Old South, where status came from family name and ancestry, survival became difficult. The dominance of the Old South was replaced by a modern, industrial, fast-moving America. The working class immigrant energy that focused on survival and success. America became a melting pot, not just a rigid class system. In New America, people could rise through hard work as society became more equal and competitive. Idealism gave way to realism and survival. As love, chivalry, and poetic sensitivity were replaced by physical desire and realism. In this historical survival struggle, the old, delicate culture could not survive as the new. Aggressive culture took over. So there was a breakdown of old social hierarchies. The dominance was not moral, but effective as power was acquired through violence and control and not ethics or refinement. Let us understand this play by the short summary that I have for you. A Streetcar Named Desire is a powerful modern American play which is set in the New Orleans. It shows the clash between the fading Old South and the rising working class. Blanche DuBois is the protagonist. She is a fragile and troubled woman who arrives at New Orleans to stay with her sister Stella and Stella's husband Stanley Kowalski. Blanche comes from once wealthy southern family. Her emotional shock due to the husband's death after she catches him in a compromising position with his friend is the root of the psychological wound. Loss of Belle Reve, their ancestral home, is another factor, as it is not just loss of home, identity, security, but also loss of social and emotional grounding. Also, she has lost her job as a teacher. But in the play, all these facts are kept hidden. These events are part of Blanche's troubled past and contribute to her sense of guilt, shame, and emotional instability throughout the play. Blanche comes to her sister Stella for emotional comfort and security. However, in the crumpled apartment, tension quickly builds between Stanley and Blanche. From the very beginning, Stanley does not trust Blanche. He investigates and uncovers several damaging truths about Blanche DuBois. He learns that she lost her job as a school teacher due to an inappropriate relationship with a young student, and that she had a promiscuous reputation at the Flamingo Hotel in Laurel. These revelations destroy the false image of purity and respectability that Blanche tries to maintain. Stanley then uses this information to humiliate and corner her. He exposes her past to his friend Mitch and ruins her chances of marriage and security. He confronts Blanche directly, mocks her pretensions, and constantly asserts his dominance over her. By revealing the truth at crucial moments, Stanley isolates Blanche, takes away her last hope of stability, and mentally breaks her down. Finally, his sexual assault shatters her sense of safety and dignity. After this, Blanche can no longer distinguish between illusion and reality and retreats entirely into her imaginary world. In this way, Stanley acts as the final psychological trigger leading to Blanche's complete emotional collapse. After reading this short summary, which almost shows Blanche as a victim, it is now important for us to understand Blanche as a character as well. And we shall do that in the play by understanding her relationship with the three most important people in the play, which is Stella, who represents her past, Stanley, who is the present, and Mitch, who she considers to be her future prospective hope. Let us begin with her sister Stella. Although both sisters have come from the same aristocratic background, they appear very contrasting in appearance. Stella dresses in plain, comfortable clothes suited to her modest lifestyle. Her beauty is described as quiet and physical, reflecting her connection to reality and everyday life. She does not try to hide her age or create illusions. In contrast, Blanche's appearance is delicate, refined, and carefully constructed. She wears soft and elegant clothes, often white, to create an image of purity and youth. She avoids bright light and uses dim lighting to hide her aging. Her beauty is therefore artificial and illusion based, designed to deceive others and herself. Stella stands as a bridge between the Old South and modern America. Though she shares Blanche's aristocratic background, she adapts to the practical life with Stanley, showing her ability to adjust and survive. Stella accepts reality instead of escaping into illusion. But this also shows her moral weakness, as she ignores Blanche's suffering and supports Stanley. Blanche's relationship with Stella is based on past ties and nostalgia, while Stella has broken all ties with the past and moved ahead.
I stayed at the Bill Reeves and tried to hold it together. I'm not meaning this in any reproachful way, but all the burden descended on my shoulders.
The next character that Blanche is associated with is Stanley Kowalski. Her first interaction with Stanley clearly shows the clash of personalities. In fact, it shows the clash of culture. As Blanche arrives with the air of superiority, just like a southerner, and tries to appear refined and polite, expecting respect as a woman from an aristocratic background. However, Stanley immediately reacts with suspicion and bluntness. Blanche arrives, claiming to be poor, yet she is dressed in fine clothes and jewelry, which makes Stanley doubt her financial situation. Her overly refined manners and dramatic way of speaking seem artificial and exaggerated to him. Also, she gives unclear and inconsistent explanations about the loss of Belrive, which makes him think that she might be hiding something. Stanley also notices her habit of avoiding direct answers and changing the topic, increasing his suspicion. Additionally, her constant drinking in secret and her attempt to appear innocent and delicate seem false to him. Blanche feels uncomfortable and threatened by his rough manners, while Stanley is annoyed by her pretensions and artificial behavior. In the Darwinian sense, if we look at this, Stanley Kowalski is the fittest survivor, as he is also aware about the Napoleonic Code that stated,
There is such a thing in the state of Louisiana as the Napoleonic Code, according to which whatever belongs to my wife is also mine and vice versa.
He adapts to the modern harsh reality and wins. Unlike Blanche, who tries to hide her trauma, Stanley does not hesitate in expressing his vulnerability. He represents physical strength, practicality, and dominance. He is aggressive, confident, and rooted in reality. He asserts control over his home, his wife, and also Blanche.
What do you think you are, a pair of queens? Every man is a king, and I am the king around here, so don't it.
The next character that Blanche associates with is Mitch. Blanche DuBois likes Harold Mitchell, who is known as Mitch, for both emotional and practical reasons. Blanche is drawn to Mitch because he is kind, gentle, and respectful. Unlike Stanley's rough and aggressive nature, his polite behavior makes her feel safe and valued. She also sees him in the possibility of love, stability, and protection, which she desperately needs after her troubled past. Mitch listens to her and shows sympathy, which comforts her loneliness. Blanche is aware that Mitch could offer her security through marriage, helping her rebuild her life and maintain a sense of respectability. So she presents herself as a pure and refined person to win his affection and secure her future. In this way, Tennessee Williams presents the social Darwinism through the conflict between Stanley and Blanche. Stanley represents strength, adaptability, and dominance, while Blanche represents weakness, illusion, and the declining aristocracy. Stanley survives and asserts control, whereas Blanche is destroyed and removed. In this way, the play reflects a survival of the fittest in the society we live in, where power ensures survival. What is important for us to understand by the end of the play is not who is a victim and who is the villain. We have to understand the way in which both the characters behave, because both are trying to defend each other. But when we see this play from the perspective of Blanche, it is important to see what was Tennessee trying to sensitize the reader from the perspective of disability. Tennessee Williams sensitizes the audience to disability perspectives, especially the psychological vulnerability, by making us feel the inner suffering of his character. As the audience sees how her illusions are a coping mechanism and not just weakness, This makes us understand rather than judge her mental illness. Tennessee also uses expressionistic techniques to represent Blanche's mental state by using elements from the plastic theater. These techniques help the audience and reader to understand her mental condition as the trauma and guilt intensify. The blue piano is placed off stage to reflect Blanche's emotional state and anxiety in New Orleans. The Varsovina polka is crucial in the play, as when Blanche recalls her husband's death and becomes louder as her guilt and trauma intensify. The dramatist has effectively used light and dark in the setting. When light represents truth, darkness represents illusion, her mental escape from reality. Blanche avoids bright lights and covers the bulbs with paper lantern. She prefers dim, soft lighting to hide reality like her age, truth, and the past. The writer has also employed symbolic props to reveal her psychological instability and need for escape. The paper lantern symbolizes illusion, fragility, and desire to hide the truth. Her habit of frequently bathing reflects her desire to cleanse guilt and trauma. Like she says to Stanley,
Hello, Stanley. Here I am, all freshly bathed and scented and feeling like a brand new human being.
expressionistic sounds and voices like strange echoes, distorted voices, and jungle cries appear in tense scenes and become louder and chaotic as Blanche loses control. These sounds mirror her fear, confusion, and breakdown, not objective reality. Even the costume reflects Blanche's denial of aging and clinging to false identity. She wears white, delicate, old-fashioned dresses, suggestive of faded beauty and illusion of purity. Tennessee also reflects the gradual breakdown through the stage atmosphere. At first, scenes are relatively normal. Gradually, the light dims, the sounds intensify, and tension rises. By the end, everything feels distorted and overwhelming. Eventually, the stage itself breaks down, along with Blanche's mind. In this way, the audience does not see disability, they experience it emotionally. Through characters like Stanley Kowalski, Williams shows that suffering often comes from society's lack of compassion, not just the individual's condition. As Blanche's breakdown is gradual, as her condition develops slowly, this shows mental illnesses are a process, not a flaw, a result of life experiences. The social cruelty through Stanley exposes her past brutally, especially when Mitch rejects her and Stella ultimately abandons her. In this way, society isolates and destroys the vulnerable. Stella did this mainly to safeguard her child and to ensure that she gets a continuous support from her husband. Mitch did it because he did not want to have a bad reputation by having association with Blanche. But what is William really trying to do with these characters? He suggests that mental breakdown is not just a personal weakness. It is produced by trauma and social rejection. This realism highlights the ongoing struggle of living with disability, making it more authentic, as there is no easy solution to Blanche's problem. William does not cure Blanche, even in the end. She is eventually institutionalized. In this way, Tennessee Williams sensitizes the reader by turning disability into a deeply human experience, encouraging empathy and a support system instead of judgment. In this way, the play very beautifully represents the idea of understanding each other's emotions and not tagging a person just based on the defense mechanisms that they present at the time when they feel threatened. Because everybody has a borderline story behind their mind because of which they behave in the manner that they do. The last scene in the play is very touching, where we notice Blanche is still in her delusional state, and when the doctor comes to take her away, she looks at the doctor and says, "Whoever you are, I have always been dependent on the kindness of others." And this is probably what Tennessee wanted us to identify with, which is why it was a success. Even the film that was produced later on gained a lot of attention, mainly for the real gravity that it had in representing the delicate characters and also the strong characters who were able to represent themselves in just the way the society does. That brings us to the end of this lecture. I hope it was interesting for all of you to get an insight into this play from the perspective of social Darwinism. Until we meet next time, this is me, Karishma. Do share, like the video if you feel it was helpful for you. Take care.